of jobs to their own workers, plus contractors and indirect workers, which are the workers in other areas of the economic activity, that reflects an important contribution regarding our macroeconomic variables. Therefore, it is important to emphasize this important effect in the people's quality of life and those who are in the mining activity, both directly or indirectly, because it presents the best average salary than in the rest of the sectors of the economy nationwide. Therefore, the poverty rate in workers is considerable. Without further analysis, this economic growth could be confused with sustainability, but for some time there has been a call to have a more comprehensive vision of mining activity that aims at traceability of their management and also environmental and labor management in the mining operations and their productive chain. Now, I would like to give you 3 ideas to support this statement. Environmental sustainability in mining, that is to say, ecosystems and environmental impacts for neighboring communities, mean that for my sector we need to strengthen and upgrade the regulations, technical guides, standards, environmental procedures, and procedures related to safety and infrastructure, and that is in agreement with SDG 9 to promote the innovation and inclusive and sustainable growth, and also public skills in order to have an economic value that is also social and environmental value in each one of their phases, from exploration to mine closure. Secondly, the social sustainability in mining. Today we have an opportunity to contribute to reducing inequalities according to SDG 10 and the end of poverty, SDG 1. A concrete aspect of the contribution of the mining activity precisely consists of reducing inequalities amongst the regions of the country, promoting their opportunities through productive growth. In Peru, more than 50% of operational costs for mining companies are focused on suppliers of goods and services. Based on that, the public policies that incorporate the promotion of competitiveness of mining activities through incentives for the creation of productive chains contribute to the creation of collective efficiencies and also the creation of public policies for the strengthening of community-based and local companies. Number 3, the sustainability of mining through decent jobs. SDG 8, a historically treated aspect is male employment in the mining activity. However, that paradigm is being reverted with a higher percentage of participation of women, specifically in the exploration and operation phases, in areas such as consultancy, environment, safety, amongst others. And it is also important to point out that the salary gap between men and women in medium-sized and large mining is lower than in other activities. Therefore, public policies are crucial to reduce inequalities that limit the opportunities of women to have access to mining employment, whose labor and salary conditions are always better. Point number 2, a case of sustainability, reclamation of environmental mining liabilities. From the energy and mines sector, we have been working for the solution of environmental liabilities, and that is related to SDG 9, and that is with the contribution of mining to the environment with a reclamation fund, and that is with the contribution of private investment. We need to emphasize that a mining environmental liability are the former mining units that are abandoned or inactive, including their waste. Mining works, tailing deposits, dams, amongst others, that constitute a significant risk for the health of the people or the environment. The main challenge associated to mining liabilities is the absence of someone who is responsible to manage risks, and that has become a concern for my sector, since it has an impact on the image that mining activity has. Our sector manages work of remediation, reclamation of contaminated soils and areas to minimize the impact generated by environmental liabilities, and with that, improve the development of modern mining industry. Therefore, I need to emphasize that the state is committed to managing environmental liabilities. They are the only ones in Latin America that has an environmental trust to remediate inactive or abandoned mine sites that are qualified as high risk, and it is a priority from this administration from the viewpoint of governance and administration in the context of climate change. In Peru, since 2005, we have a framework designed for the management and governance of mining environmental liabilities in order to minimize the possibility of having catastrophic events. governance. Therefore, it is important to mention that through management projects, there will be more than 5,000 environmental liabilities will be remediated in different regions of the country: Cajamarca, Cachinga, Puno, Junín, Pasco, and Huancavelica. And it is important to point out that environmental liabilities, mining environmental liabilities, are the result of the past environmental activity and old environmental activity versus modern mining that doesn't generate environmental mining liabilities because it works with progressive reclamation and the final reclamation of the mining activity. Lastly, mining and development, point number 3. In Peru, mining activity has been traditionally important because of the size and the positive impact of its social and economic indicators. The social context of the past years has been challenging, and it has generated a situation of social conflict, facing which we have managed to define actions to strengthen the governance policies and also a more appropriate legal framework in order to have a better social and economic situations for all stakeholders that are key and are related to mining activities, and so promote the development of new projects. Our formula of development to create trust in the community regarding the impact of mining is to work in synergy in order to address the important challenges contained in these SDGs. Therefore, our strategies and actions that have been developed are framed in the guidelines of the United Nations SDGs. And in addition to that, the policies of the organization, the OECD, this growth will be possible provided that our mining activities carried out in a sustained and sustainable manner, a responsible manner, taking care for the environment, working with the communities, and generating employment and benefits for our population. For this vision of articulated and joint responsible work, recently from my sector, we have presented an initiative called Peru Mining Identity, which promotes actions to make all Peruvians know about the benefits generated by the mining activity in the country and how this new mining is part of us in our daily lives. Many companies are working in economic, environmental, social, and governance aspects related to mining that are directly linked with this SDGs, and they should be channeled and defined and oriented. Today, more than ever, we have to be aware and acknowledge that the growth of our country, the reduction of poverty, and going back to the path to development that was defined from the beginning of the millennia are strictly linked to modern mining and with the benefits and economic resources that it generates, and it will only be possible if we keep a sound regulatory framework that promotes investments in exploration activities and that will give way to new projects of mining exploitation and benefits. And we should work together with the participation of the civil society and the stakeholders of the private and public sectors in order to develop a modern infrastructure and to close the social investment gaps. For those of us who were here for the previous presentations, we were especially interested in a strategic view at the international level, but also when we speak of our community. And it is important to develop and to characterize and to delve into the fact that we can indeed work with mining and agriculture together. So that's why we have come and we are present in this type of events, because we always participate, because this is how we can develop many companies in different areas of the country, like OAS, Arequipa, Moquegua, where work is being generated in coordination and synergy with the development of both water and agriculture. We can work with a vision of a modern country, provided that we work together jointly. Thank you very much.
Daremos inicio a las presentaciones de la mesa promoviendo las inversiones responsables en sector.
Now we will listen to possibilities and prospects of investments in tourism.
Es el turno de la
This is the time to listen to Executive President of Peru, Amora Carvajal. She has over 20 years of experience in the tourism and foreign trade sector. She has studied her master's degree at the Institute of Social Studies, Erasmus Rotterdam in Holland. She is trade advisor to Peru in Canada, Dubai, and Africa. In 2009, was a specialist in Peru, and now International Director of Tourism from 2010 to 2013. She has also worked in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Tourism. Good morning. First, I kindly thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the invite, and as the Ministry of Tourism and Foreign Trade, we have always promoted exports and tourism. Since 2019, we have the mandate to promote as well to attract private investment for tourism and trade. Now, I'm going to share with you how we are attracting investment to the tourist sector. As well, we would like to set the grounds. We know that our country has sustainable development policies, and according to the tech sector, these policies are adapted to the activities. That is to say that the investment has to bear in mind sustainability to make the sector more competitive. I'm going to share with you the current scenario of Peru in the tourist sector. The pandemic affected not only the country, but the region and the entire world. Between January and August of this year, a total of 1,177,776 international tourists arrived to Peru, compared to 171,134 registered in the same period, which meant an increase of 588.2% in the same period. So this is quite positive. Our international tourists before the pandemic was above 1.5 million. So now we are working, issuing policies so that we can foster better spaces and opportunities to boost tourism, inbound tourism, and add value to our tourism chain. In this slide, you can appreciate how we have been performing between January and August this year. South America is the main source market for international tourists. Then we have North America, then Europe. Fourth place is by Central America, and then Asia. And that is because of the crossroads they are found in. Now, inbound tourism is important. Domestic tourism moves the national economy, the domestic, arrival of tourists. It's an inflow of currencies in the economy, and it moves the regional and domestic economy. According to Mincetur, the flow of trips amount to 24.1 million. It's equivalent to an increase of 55.1% compared to last year. This is quite significant. To date, we have about 15 million domestic tourists. In terms of inbound tourism, the government is promoting it by issuing long holidays. This month we will have one, and that helps us to move tourists domestically. When we have to lure investments to Peru, we always say that Peru is an attractive tourist investment place.
Siguiente, ahí está, muy bien. Para la inversión extranjera directa,
it's an attractive destination for foreign direct investment because of its great diversity, which is ideal for outdoor, ecological, adventure, historical, wellness, and culinary arts tourism, as we have heard before.
Es un sector con desempeño
This is a sector that has a favorable performance in the region. One of the 17 mega-diverse countries in the world, is a cultural hub in the Pacific and is committed to the sustainability of the planet and is open to investments, especially private investments.
En cuanto a las potencialidades del turismo,
Among the potential of tourism for foreign investments, we find several spaces to grow. One of them is the sector with favorable performance in South America. This is a sector that was bearing the brunt of the pandemics. In the case of Peru, this is one of the resilient sector, and it has a progressive recovery that we can notice with the growing of international arrival. And as the minister said, we have experienced an increase in the tax collection, but also this is a sector that is showing that it's going to grow the most in the region, according to the number of visitors and restaurants that have been opened. The second potential is that Peru is one of the 17 mega-diverse countries, as it was said by previous panelists. So Peru is one of the countries that have the largest number of butterflies, amphibians, birds, and amphibians. So I can keep on sharing you how bountiful Peru is. This is an important data to position Peru as one of the most interesting countries to visit for tourism purposes. What is Peru's third potential? Peru is in the list of 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. We have cultural heritage in Ancash, which is in the north of Lima. We have the Chanquillo complex in Chavin. We also have the Nazca lines in Palpa and Lima as well. We have the Caral City, which is a millenary city compared to the city of Mesopotamia. We also have Capacñán, which is a route that unites many countries in the Andes. We also have historical sites in Arequipa, Cusco, Lima, and many others. I don't want to keep on giving you the list. This is important information so that you can see how Peru is the perfect place to invest in tourism. The fourth potential is that Peru is the Pacific air hub. We are recovering in terms of air connectivity. The flow has been improved by 78%. The number of routes that we had in 2019 have been recovered, 45 of them. Most of them are domestic flights, and also the international flight sector has increased significantly, not only in Peru but also in the region, and it contributes with 36,000 employments and $6.4 billion. Other important measures that we want you to know about to invest in tourism is that we are open for tourist investment. We have low-cost airlines like Spirit, Sky, and others. And by the end of this month, we will have other airlines that will start to fly to Peru, like Air Canada and others. We have another potential. Peru is open to tourist investment. We have incentive to encourage tourism, such as the REDA IGV, the law on the promotion of investment in the Amazon, among others. So, additionally to that, we have FTAs signed. These trade agreements will benefit the arrival of different tourists at a competitive price. Number 6 is that Peru is a country committed to the sustainability of the planet. The Ministry of Energy and Mine already talked about this and how the country is betting on the sustainability and to bring in investments, not only for tourism purposes, but for other sectors. To us, it is important. We have received awards from BIN destinations, and so whenever we are outside and we promote our countries, we need to mention all the certificates and recognitions that we have received. Please, next slide.
Siguiente. No. Siguiente. Perfecto. Es importante también recibir premios y reconocimientos
internacionales. It's important to receive international awards and prizes. They serve as a great tool for promotion. In this case, we are also promoting the investment in the tourist sector. Recently, we learned that the UK mentioned that Peru is among the list of the most beautiful countries to visit, and Peru is just the one in South America. Peru is among the 50 world destinations that every tourist must visit. And so, Peru is also seen as the best culinary destination, the best tourist attraction in South America. At the end of the month, we will listen about the world prizes and awards. So, we as a country are receiving lots of recognitions, not only this year but in previous years. Since 2000, we see that Peru has been using Peru to serve as a place of destination for many tourists. Now, we're going to talk about the subsectors in tourism with opportunities for direct investments. In Peru, there are 6 subsectors with the opportunity for foreign investment. First is a country that is interesting to develop the hotel industry. The more tourists, then more services they will require. There's a gap there, and we need more hotels. In recent years, we have observed a sustained growth of tourism flow, and there is a high occupancy and a low number of hotels serving that number of tourists. So there's a niche there. So we have natural protected areas that have concessions that are available. And that is interesting because we can promote our country in that way. We have heard about the restaurant sector. It is important to know that most of the best restaurants in the world are here in Peru, and Peru is leveraging on that. 82% in a study done pre-pandemic said that 82% of the travelers come to Peru to eat and taste the flavors of Peru, the Peruvian inputs. They want to go to the market and learn from the cultures firsthand. This is interesting for investments. We have another subsector that is travel agencies. There is a tourism niche there. We have the surfing tourism, bird observation. There are tourists that are coming to Peru to observe the marine fauna. They are investing significantly. Peru is a mega diverse country, and we have butterflies and so many. And I was telling you about this in the introduction because we have certain needs. We also have trekking, and also what the Deputy Minister said, we have community-based tourism. We have been working on that for such a long time, and we have been a benchmark for other countries in the region. We have have developed community-based tourism, and it's a great opportunity to invest in that sector. We also have a subsector in tourism that can work with thermal water and crafts. We have thermoprotection, we have Spain, Hungary, Italy, and many thermal springs are here in Peru, and that is a potential. We also have the rice tourism. These are Congress events and similar incentives that brings in many tourists. So Peru is a one-of-a-kind place. In the transportation subsector, we can invest, for example, cruises in the rivers and lakes. There is an important niche for anyone to invest there.
Bueno, el Viceministerio de Turismo,
Deputy
de la Dirección General de
Office in the Ministry has identified routes and specialized products in the different regions of the country, and they have been classified according to their produce and goods. As you can see in the map, we have the mines, we have thermal springs, the bird watching, trekking, we have the Pisco route, and also the route to go bird watching up north.
Bueno, ahora sí me quiero, ya viendo este panorama muy general,
after providing you with this overlook, we want to give you further detail. According to FDI markets, Peru has been considered, after analyzing 20 years worth of information, in Peru we registered 133 projects that generated over 150,000 employees through 815 companies. These represented 2% of all the investment that came into Peru, and we have a country that has a lot of potential, just like the rest of the countries in this region. If we compare our country to the rest of the Americas, we can say that Peru is ranked the third most friendly recipient of investments. The top 5 Latin American countries that has the largest number of tourist projects executed in the recent years is Mexico first with 99 projects, Peru has 30, Dominican Republic 25, and Brazil 19. That is to say that there's a lot of room to grow here. If we consider all the information available, as I said, we have 20 years worth of information, we can note that the United States, Dominican Republic, and Panama are the ones that are investing the most in tourism in Peru. For example, in Panama, we see that there are 9 hotel projects that have come into Peru using Selena. Dominican Republic has 3 investments from Caribbean Land Development Group, and the United States have 10 projects from different hotel companies like Radisson, Westin, Hilton, and so on. If we consider all the countries in America that are investing in Peru, Chile is the one that invested the most with 13 companies. In Jerez is building under the brand Ives. In the last 20 years, according to the data that we have reviewed, we note that more than half of the investment are focused in Lima. Yes, there are other investments in other parts of the countries, and Cusco, Piura, and Tumbes are the ones that are receiving the most after Lima. Thank you very much.
Siguiente, nos vamos al marco legal.
So let's now move into the legal framework.
Todo esto lo que les he comentado y viendo todas las posibilidades.
As you can see, there are many opportunities for us, and also many countries in Latin America are making the most to boost their tourism. So we have a legal framework that facilitates investments. We have the possibility of carrying out activities with foreign investment. We have environment conservation, public health care services, and so we have legislative decree 662 that gives legal stability to foreign investment. We also have the legislative decree 757, which is the framework law for the growth of the private investment, and also we have the general law on tourism, the national strategic tourism plans, and also we have the law to promote community-based tourism, which was the one that was mentioned by the Deputy Minister. Yes. We also have investments. The Deputy Ministry of Tourism has been working in the IGV. This is a legislative decree with modification that creates a special regime to recover the sales tax. It is allowing the recovery of investments done in hospitality industry and facilitates the liquidity of the companies and improves the financial structure of companies. We have now 10 companies that are applying using this tax incentive. 18 companies are in operation, 10 are in execution, and there's another one that is being received. Well, which are the requirements to be eligible for this tax break? The company needs to make commitments above $5 million. There is a pre-operational phase of the project that is 2 years or more. This is to say that we as a country are making great efforts to keep on working and alluring in foreign direct investment in tourism. Thank you very much.
Seguidamente daremos paso a la señora Rengel
We will now hear from Mrs. Rangel Melzi, Vice President of the American Society, Council of the Americas, ASCOA. It's a group that promotes dialogue for inter-American business. The title of our presentation is Investment with Social Responsibility. Mrs. Melzi has a vast experience in corporate finance and management of wealth in Latin America, and she was responsible for managing transactions and finance leverage funding for private capital from MHD, Capital Chase, and JP Morgan, and she was in charge of the group of private banking for the Continental Bank of Panama, and she worked in the different divisions of private banking at HSBC, Citibank, JP Morgan, and she has an MBA from Cornell University and a master's degree in management from the Université Catholique de Louvain. Thank you very much, Mrs. Melzi. You have the floor. I think that we are all hungry and we are all willing to travel. We feel like traveling. Thank you very much for inviting me to share this important roundtable. We value the cooperation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Peru and the government of Peru. What is social responsibility and why is it so important? The definition is an investment that doesn't only consider profitability, but also the social impact or environmental impact, and this is known by its acronym ESG.
Una empresa de energía lo explica de esta forma.
corporation, an energy company, explains it like this: we all need more sustainable solutions to improve our lives and our world. Strong societies allow us to work together to integrate innovative energy solutions, to develop social impact programs that are positive and create value in the long run for communities. On the other hand, companies seek dialogue with the governments of the countries where they invest and, more than anything, legal certainty. To prepare for this talk, what we learned was that many of the companies that have important projects of billions of dollars in the long term make the work of approaching local communities. They work by approaching local communities to understand their needs. And it is based on this understanding that they create their development plans and create projects that meet the needs of the communities. The first letter in ESG is E, environment. Fiona and Ian, the hurricanes that hit the Caribbean and Florida over the past weeks, make us think that enemy number one is climate change, and that reminds us that the energy transition is the priority, and that is why Peru and many other companies have committed to reduce global warming in the planet to less than 2 degrees Celsius. In order to achieve that, emissions need to be reduced in approximately 50% by 2030, according to the Paris Agreement. The war between the Ukraine and Russia hit when the world started to recover from the pandemic, and it emphasized the importance of renewable energies and the diversification of energy sources. In addition to that, another global concern is food security. In this regard, Latin America has a historic opportunity because energy transition is not achieved without copper. And there is a huge opportunity for Peru and for the region now that countries such as Ecuador and Argentina start wanting to exploit other copper, and in the case of Argentina, lithium as well. There are other stakeholders that are very interested as well in ESG. As you know, mining companies are in the big stock markets like the New York Stock Exchange, and the investment funds like BlackRock measure compliance with ESG standards. Banks and investors, bond investors, the bonds that are issued to fund these projects also adhere to ESG standards. Therefore, the interests of all of the stakeholders are aligned. Companies acknowledge that good investment practices with social responsibility benefit communities in the investment area, environment, relationships with governments, and also shareholders and financial creditors. As it is said in English, it's a win-win situation. Now, let's delve into the historic opportunity that Peru has at this moment. As it has been mentioned, copper is key for energy transition, and Peru is the second copper producer in the world. 12% of the global production nowadays, only exceeded by Chile with 28%, so 40% amongst the two of them. The experts believe that there will be a deficit in copper demand and the production of this mineral that is so important. S&P, in a recent report, The Future of Copper, foresees that the copper demand will double in a little bit more than 25 million metric tons in 2021 to almost 49 million metric tons by 2035. That is to say that there is a huge opportunity for Peru. Copper, in addition to being the wires that connect the past with the future, according to Bloomberg, represents for Peru a source of development, employment, technology, economic growth, and currency, and all of that in the framework of respect for communities and the environment, and to attract investment, dialogue, and legal certainty are needed. Why do we think that the communities and the environment will be respected? Who and how do you measure investment with social responsibility? The capital managers such as BlackRock, and here is where the G of ESG comes in, governance. According to the last letter of Larry Fink to CEOs, financial sustainable investments have reached $4 billion in Spanish for $4 trillion. BlackRock has an important group that is devoted to monitoring the proposals of the councils of the administration of companies. They vote in favor or against companies, and they meet with the companies, and they give them recommendations. If fund managers believe that the companies are not following good ESG practices, then that could have an impact in terms of their value in the stock market. And as a matter of fact, Larry Fink said in his letter to CEOs this year that the highest risk of investment is not a financial risk, but the climatic risk, the weather-related risk. Rating agencies also include the monitoring of ESG in their debt ratings. For example, Fitch qualifies the risk score of the ESG of companies of 1, which is low, to 5, which is high. The ESG factors are analyzed based on the potential impact on the operational cost, reputational risk, let's think of Vale in Brazil, and number 3, financial flexibility, the ability of going out to the market to get funding. A very important factor is that because of the importance that has been given to ESG over the past time, most of the companies have sustainability directors and produce annual sustainability reports. What proof do we have that there are good ESG practices in Peru and in the rest of the region? And I will give certain examples here. Freeport-McMoRan has a Cerro Verde mining company that generates 40% of Arequipa's GDP and 2.3% of Peru's GDP, and they have carried out projects that have improved water management in Arequipa with 3 dams, and they built around 70 kilometers of infrastructure, irrigation infrastructure, and they have a project called Emprende for entrepreneurs that has trained more than 2,000 people. Newmont Mining Corporation has Yanacocha, which is the largest gold mine in the world, and Newmont is the second most transparent company of the Standard & Poor's 500 according to the ESG disclosure score of Bloomberg. In December 2021, Newmont became the first company in the mining sector to issue a bond linked to sustainability. At Yanacocha, Newmont invests in water management, that is to say micro reservoirs or family reservoirs where more than 500 families have water in the dry season. Plus Petrol is part of the 67 companies that are acknowledged with the brand socially responsible company in their areas of influence in Peru. And in Camisea, the company carries out programs to protect the environment, biodiversity, education, culture, and infrastructure for social profitability. Offshore Inland is a unique project where Plus Petrol moves the operations by air, in helicopters, and by river, without the land, the roads, and in that way it reduces the forest footprint with a minimum area that has been intervened. Thanks to the Camisea gas, cars that are operated with gas have a lower cost, as my taxi driver said in Lima 2 days ago, and that has also reduced pollution in Lima. Anglo American has just opened Quellaveco, which is an example of intelligent mining because of electricity that comes completely from renewable sources. So if we leave Peru and go into Brazil, Suzano is the highest producer of timber pulp in the world, and they in 2021 advanced their objective of eliminating 40 million tons of CO2 in the atmosphere, so that went from 2030 to 2025. And in terms of social work, they have launched a target for 2020 in order to lift 20,000 people out of poverty. Inclusion in diversity is fundamental when we think of sustainable development, and investment with social responsibility is part of the G of the ESG. We know that women were the ones that were hardest hit in the pandemic. Many of them stopped working because they just couldn't take care of their children and work at the same time. We know that it's important to include the participation of women in the labor force because that leads to a higher economic growth. Mining is an important source of economic growth, but also of development for human capital, and it is an industry that is traditionally male-related, but that is changing. Last year, I participated as a panelist at a conference of mining and women in Ecuador, and even if the number of women in mining has increased, we need to keep on changing the culture and the commitment from the level of the CEO downwards, so that the percentage of women in mining can increase to 30% that BHP has, for instance. Nowadays, the participation of women in mining in Peru is 6%, and throughout the world, 11%. People say that you cannot be what you cannot see, and it's important to have models that would inspire women such as María Eugenia Morales from Chile, civil engineer, who was awarded with a prize of an outstanding woman in mining. María Eugenia Zampaglione, who's the president of Women in Mining Argentina. Marnie Finlayson, managing director of Battery Minerals of Rio Tinto, which is the area that works with lithium, amongst others. The study in the subject say that mining is not an industry that women are highly interested in because of a lack of training, promotion, cultural issues, and the differences in terms of salary. And therefore, training and recruitment are important. And as a matter of fact, there is a program called Mining Women Talent in Peru that offered 100 scholarships of technical training for women, and that was made by the large mining companies in the country this year. And last week in Peru, they talked extensively about this issue. Diversifying the labor force leads to a better financial performance, less risk, more creativity, and that also applies to mining. Conclusions. During the week of the General Assembly of the UN in New York, it was said that there should be optimism for Latin America. We are in a phase of many possibilities. Latin America is an energy and food source, and it has a historic opportunity to leverage this. Success will come if investment is made responsibly in an environment that has a legal and regulatory certainty to guarantee the long-term view and dialogue. And the most important thing is to include all of the population for the well-being of stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Finalmente, escucharemos la ponencia titulada
To wrap up, we will listen to large mining projects and their prospects in Peru that will be given by Carlos Díaz Canseco, General Manager of the Institute of Mining Engineers of Peru. He's an economist of the Pacific University with over 30 years of experience in oil, mining, and energy industry. He has a master's of the London School of Economics, and between 1990 and 2000, he was the president of the Peruvian Mining Association, and he supported the signature of the peace agreement with Ecuador, and he participated in the Latin American Mining Society, has been a teacher at the Pacific University, and has been director of many companies in the mining sector. You have the floor, Mr. Carlos Díaz Canseco.
Señora Minister
Alessandra Herrera, Ambassador Jaime Cacho Sosa, dear panelists and ladies and gentlemen, for me it's an honor to be here with you today. I would like to also thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Peru and the government of Peru for inviting me to give you this presentation. Today we will see a bird's eye view of, first, I want to share the institution that I'm speaking on behalf of. Maybe some of you don't know much about the institution that I'm representing here. I want to tell you that the Institute of Mining Engineers of Peru is an organization that has no profits, that we know as an NGO. It's a 30-year-old institution. It has 5,000 professionals in the membership. We also have mining companies in our role. The success of our institution is the promotion of learning opportunities and skills among professionals in the mining sector. And we also oversee the development of our industry in the social sphere in an environmentally conscious way, competitively as well. We have a call to support the territories that have mining operations. One of our main activities, among many others, is to hold Perumin. This is a major event that took place last week. Perumin has certain features that are interesting, and we work closely on sustainability as well. We are working towards a zero carbon footprint, and we have the opportunity of listening the conference in 3 languages, Spanish, English, and Quechua. And that is important for you to note. I believe that we are reaching the inclusion levels that we are hoping to reach globally. Mining has a participation of women that is around 6%. We are looking to elevate that number to 30%. And we have noticed that more women are participating in Perumin, from workers, professional CEOs, and also we have a female minister. So we are observing a proactive inclusion of females in the sector. That is important for us to highlight. Perumin is a fair that summons companies from the mining world in Peru. They come to Arequipa, specifically to Cerro de Juli. Companies and main investors from around the world are invited, as well as entrepreneurs, governments, and communities are invited to come to Perumin, together with the academia, professional, civil society. Everybody comes together here. It's one of the fairs that makes us the proudest. I think that this is one of the most important fairs after the PDCA. The lady from the Council of the Americas has talked about how important mining is for Peru. Peru, in terms of global size, is a small economy. We have less than 1% of the world population, and we have less than 1% of the world's GDP. So we are a small country that has the eye, where the eyes of the world are looking into. We are interesting to other countries in the world. Why are other countries looking at us? Because we are the main mining producers worldwide. We are outstanding in the performance of copper, zinc, gold, silver, tin, lead, molybdenum, and many others. We are not only producers, but also we are producing these products competitively, and that makes us attractive. If we talk in football, we are playing the World Cup. We are the best of the world when it comes to mining. That is why we are attractive. We can say that the mining activity in Peru dates back to the pre-Inca times. We have a wonderful top-of-line metallurgy activity. You can see here alloys that you may not see in other parts of the world. And that is why investors are looking to Peru. Here we have the different metals that we are producing in the world, and you can see that there are about 980,000 million that are being produced, and we are considering iron here. And Peru is among the 7 top players in the world. So we are among the top 10. Remember that we are a polymetallic mine country. And we can say that Peru is the top 4 producer of metals in the world. And I believe that the previous presentation made it obvious why investors are so interested in Peru. If we add the mining production of Chile and Peru, that is in north of Chile and the south of Peru, we have 40% of the world's copper production. We have it here, and I have been working towards that end. What we need to do is to come together with Chile and say, what are you looking elsewhere? Everything is here. We need to provide miners. And this is a very interesting activity. Chile is developing quite well, and Australia is working under next mining equipment and technology. In the case of Australia, they are working with the mining suppliers because they are as important as the mining sector. Remember that mining represents 10% of the Australian economy. So that is why the mining activity represents 20%. In the case of Peru, it can go up to 14%. And here we are sharing the gross figures. Regarding the GDP, it represents about 10% of the Peruvian GDP. But let's remember that the mining activity is not done in Lima. Lima represents 50% of Peruvian GDP because we are highly centralized. Metals are produced in the regions, and it represents 20% of the regional GDP, and that is formal activity. It is one of the highly formal activities, so it's very important at the level of the Peruvian regions. As it was well said, mining promotes development. 60% of the domestic exports are mining, and it represents 20% of the corporate taxes paid. And of income tax, it represents 40%. And as I was saying, it represents 4% of the domestic GDP. So, this is an information that shares how mining can leverage Peruvian development, how mining contributes to the tax expansion. And remember that we used to have 2 serious issues for Peruvian development. We were talking about the tax gap and foreign trade. We were facing imbalances, devaluations, and some economic crisis. But 20 years onwards, the mining sector has contributed significantly in those 2 areas, and that has created some stability, and now Peru has obtained a degree of investment. Now investments are not only coming to mining, there are many other areas that are attractive for investors. Peru is bringing in funds for other activities different from mining, for example, construction, financial services, and others. Why? Because Peru is a stable country. A macroeconomic stability is a proven trait, and it has led to this growth. Here I am highlighting the difference between Lima and the regions. Why is mining important? Well, because mining is developed in areas that are the poorest, where there are the most wide gaps. That is why we need to use that money efficiently, because by doing so we can contribute to the development of those poor areas in Peru. Here I'm showing you some tax information. The mining activity, as I will say, is one that is observed by the national authorities, tax authorities, but also other international authorities. Therefore, mining activities are thoroughly analyzed, and we need to show how we are contributing in terms of tax. And you can see there that we have competitive rates similar to those in Chile, but different from other countries. We have an 8% worker participation, like in Sweden or Germany. The workers are participating in the company's profits, and that is very important for everyone working in that sector. When you have good metal prices, like last year, there were no limits. Now we have even 18 additional wages that the workers receive. There's another thing that is important to mention, and that is the tax stability agreements that we have here in Peru. It means that you pay like an insurance of tax stability, because mining is a long-haul activity, and mining companies need long-term financial stability and also tax stability. This is the tax collection in Peru. Last year we broke a record. Many criticized the amount of collection by the mining sector, and in one way that helped the government to face the different matters that were raised during the pandemic. Peru is participating in the 80. This is an organization that is international that analyzes if the contributions are in agreement or not, and we see that Peru is an important complies significantly with this, the EITI. We also broke a record of over 7 billion soles of contributions from the mining sector, and that should be used for the benefit of the populations. Unfortunately, there is a management issue at the subnational government level. They are not even getting 50%. The money is not trickling down to the population. So mining is an activity that has limits, and it generates resources that should help the human capital in Peru. All taxes should be used to build hospitals, schools, infrastructure, and help the population. If the resources are not well used, then we are destroying our nation. And then you can find the root of all the conflicts. Here you can see Perumín. We have talked about it. These are some images of what we do at Perumín. Perumín's motto is building a better Peru together. Perumin had an important participation, and we had different stakeholders from the sector participating, and we hope that next year we will hold another Perumin where these topics can be further advanced. This was already informed in Perumin, but next September 23rd we will have the next Perumin forum in Arequipa. We want it to be an event that is recurrent in the international calendar. This is the organizing committee. It covers the most important mining companies in Peru. This is not a private entity. This is an NGO that represents the main companies engaged in mining activities in Peru. We represent about 95% of the mining production of Peru. Mrs. Messi said something that is very important. And this was something that was highlighted as well in Perumin. Win Mackenzie said that this is the first conference that was truly an impact because it's about warming, and it's affecting us significantly. As it was well said, the issue is that in order for us to abate the climate crisis, we need to change the energy grid. We need to switch to a clean energy and move away from fossil fuels. And it requires the use of lots of copper and lithium. They are going to be the metals that are going to be demanded the most, and Peru will be producing it. And all the Andes will be able to produce it. I know that if we have it here in Peru and in Chile, there must be as well in Ecuador and in Argentina. So I think that this is an important message. Will Mackenzie was saying that you need to bear this in mind. We are going to need vast amounts of copper, so much that the investments that will come here will be the largest ever. And this is as a way of example of how copper will be demanded. The electric vehicles consume about 4 times more copper than a traditional car. The matter here is that by 2030 or 2050, there will be no conventional vehicles running around. Aside of that, we need to bring energy to the rest of the world, and that will require copper. And that is something that we have and that we can sell. So I think that the message was very important to us, and these are the investments in the mining sector. Last year, there were over $6 billion invested, and we have a portfolio of $53 billion, most of them in copper, and focus in the 2 poorest regions of Peru, Cajamarca and Apurímac. These are areas that need the resources the most. So mining is the best way to get out of underdevelopment. This is it for me. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and once again, thank you for the invite.
A new chapter in the history of Perumin was written thanks to all of you. Thanks to you, mining worker, your dedication and commitment to build a better country. This is the way in which our sector has had extraordinary results for Peru over the past 20 years. It is the main driver of the national economy. $70 billion have been invested, and that has meant employment for more than 1.8 million Peruvians. And there is more than $152 billion collected by the state, and that has meant the implementation of thousands of public works. We are proud of having contributed to the reduction of poverty in 13 percentile points.
El mundo nos puso nuevos retos y los hemos asumido
The
como
world
parte de nuestro
gave us new
ADN.
challenges, and we took them on as
Por
part
eso,
of our
no
DNA.
dimos ni un solo paso
That is
atrás.
why we did
Y
not
cuando el país
take a
nos
step back,
necesitó,
and when the country
estuvimos
needed
ahí.
us, we were there.
No solo llevamos
We
oxígeno,
did not only take
llevamos
oxygen,
esperanza.
but also
No
hope.
solo llevamos
We did not
educación,
only take education,
Llevamos
but also
futuro.
future.
Actualmente, el
Currently,
Perú tiene una
Peru
oportunidad
has
única
a unique
poner en valor su
opportunity
riqueza mineral aprovechando la alta demanda
tap
de minerales
into
requeridos
their
para la transición
resources,
energética global. Para
leveraging
eso,
the
contamos con una
transition that is
que
needed.
representan una inversión
For that,
de
we have a portfolio of
73.000
projects that represent an
millones
investment of
hacia el
$53 billion
2030.
to 2031. With the development of these projects,
3.9 millones de
3.9
puestos
million
profesionales.
jobs could be generated, and also a collection of $85 billion in taxes for more public works, and to contribute in the reduction of poverty in 14 percentile
Si
points.
bien estas cifras son
Even if these figures are important,
lo más trascendente es
what
lo
is
que
more
se hace
transcendental is what is done with those figures, and that is why our objective is to see them turned into hospitals and schools,
carreteras,
roads,
servicios de agua potable y saneamiento.
potable water and sanitation services, and more works that Peruvians need.
Para ello, debemos
For that, we need to multiply our proposals and actions with a single objective:
alcanzar la prosperidad para
to
todos
attain
los
prosperity
peruanos.
for all Peruvians.
Se trata de impulsar
This is about
iniciativas
promoting
para
initiatives
los objetivos
in
de
order
desarrollo
to meet the
en los que
SDGs,
venimos trabajando
and we've
sin
already been
descanso.
working on them tirelessly with each one of our actions.
Por eso,
And that is why
adoptamos estos
we
desafíos
adopted
como una
these
manera
challenges as a way
del país.
to experience mining in the country. Let's make the dreams of many Peruvians come true. Without a doubt, they believe in the possibility of a developed country that is filled with opportunities. Let's keep on working together in the construction of a better country, Peru.
Agradezco las presentaciones de nuestros panelistas.
I would like to thank our panelists for their presentations, and I would like to give the floor to Ana Cecilia Gervasi, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, for the closing remarks. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister.
Ministros, señores
Ladies
embajadores,
and gentlemen, Vice Ministers, ambassadors of the diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen. After very interesting presentations from our distinguished panelists, I have the pleasure of giving the closing remarks of this business forum, Peru and the regional economic scenario in the framework of the 52nd session of the General Assembly of the OAS. The presenters of this forum address different topics that directly involve socioeconomic problems of special relevance for the Americas. After 2 years of the effects caused by the COVID-19 pandemic that has seriously impacted the global economies, nonetheless, we can see a better future because after the pandemic, the nations have become aware of the fact that the only way to solve transnational problems is through dialogue and exchanging ideas and experiences, as well as cooperation and international solidarity. And it is following those principles that our guests have addressed significant issues like sustainable development, the social responsibility of investments, the infrastructure gap, digital economy, the situation of micro and small companies, and post-pandemic tourism. And these topics have been widely reflected on, and that constitutes a significant contribution to our objective of achieving inclusive economies that are free from inequality and discrimination. Peru is a stakeholder that is open to the world with more than 22 free trade agreements and committed to the integration and regional cooperation, as shown by the pro-tempore chairmanship of the Andean Community in our hands, and the chairmanship that Peru will take on in 2023 of the Pacific Alliance and in 2024 of the Forum of Economic Cooperation, APEC. That will place us in a specifically important role in the region. Likewise, Peru is a country that is willing to receive responsible investment from friendly countries that promote benefits that can be proven for the populations that are in their areas of influence and that fully respect and are in harmony with the environment. As a destination of a huge cultural and historic riches, tourism is also a fundamental part of the national economy. Therefore, its recovery after the pandemic is a priority of the Peruvian government. I would like to now reaffirm the commitment of Peru and of its authorities for being a reliable partner that is also active, engaged in dialogue, and that cooperates in the political and economic scenario internationally, specifically in the Americas, taking into account the situation of a global economic recovery in the aftermath of the pandemic. I would like to finish my remarks, but first of all, I would like to thank the participation of the distinguished panelists and moderators, and also I would like to thank the business guilds and the diplomatic corps, local groups that are here. I would like to acknowledge all of the partners. To all of you, thank you. This is how I close this forum. Have a good afternoon. Thank you. The event has concluded. Thank you very much to all of the attendees.